Open your mind.
Hey out there, this is Buzz with TheSurvivalBuzz. So I'm rolling the backup shades today. I ran off, forgot my sunglasses at the house. Seems how we got daylight savings time now. I'm actually fortunate enough to actually catch a little bit of sunlight in the parking lot before I leave work every day, which is when I shoot a lot of these videos. But the weather's been amazing here. Hopefully it is in your area. I spent the whole last weekend tilling up my garden, probably spent a good 6 hours or so just tilling, and I'm still not done with all of it, but by God, I'm gonna have a garden this year. I didn't do so well last year, had a few things growing, but nothing worth mentioning really. So as all of you know, a few years ago, it seems that we had a big call to defund the police. With all the BLM crap and the Antifa and let's defund the police. Anybody in the right mind realized right off the bat that was a horrible idea. Even though you had a lot of media outlets and politicians and celebrities and singers and everybody coming out in support of all of that, you can pretty much tell who's getting paid for that sort of thing. Because nobody in their right mind would endorse getting rid of police, defunding police in this world we live in now where, well, shootings and everything, crime, burglary, theft, rape, I mean, you name it, is just rampant everywhere. But they called for it, and it seems like now a lot of places are reaping the repercussions of that, especially with all this migrant nonsense going on, people coming across the southern border. Now you have people in Florida all up in arms, worried that a lot of the Haitians and people are going to come over. They're already trying to stop a lot of that. DeSantis is doing a lot to help with that. But that's just a small area that is affected by all of this. And I would imagine, the Haitian people, they're going to probably catch wind and not even try to attempt coming across in a boat, going into Florida. They'll just go over into California or New Mexico, or try, swimming across the river in Texas or wherever to get over here. But I read a story, and it's old news by now. It's been out maybe a week, but maybe some of you guys haven't heard about it. But man, what's going on in Pittsburgh, right? It seems that they're just having such a staffing shortage with their police department there that, they're scaling back a little bit. And in a city of, people that pretty much supported that sort of thing, supported the BLM and the defund the police, well, now they're kind of eating their words a little bit, I believe. So, got a few notes here. I was going to read about it. Like I said, you might have already heard about this, but I found it quite interesting and worth mentioning in the world we're going in, the direction we're headed in. So Pittsburgh police is now not responding to harassment, theft, burglary, and criminal mischief. It appears that those aren't dangerous enough to call 911 and have the police come out. They'll simply probably tell you to go online and fill out a report, which tends to be the case here a lot of times, even in Tulsa, Oklahoma area. Working in armed security, half the time I call to have a police officer come out for something, and I may or may not see him. A lot of times I never see him. So they're only going to be responding to in-progress emergencies only. And if you don't think harassment, theft, burglary, or criminal mischief is enough to constitute a emergency in progress, I mean, working in this, I see how quickly things escalate, from any of those. A number of things can go from one extreme to the other, especially if those people are aware that the police are not going to show up, whether they're called or not. And then here's the real horrible part, even worse. From, 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. in Pittsburgh, there will only be 22 officers on the streets between 6 police stations in a city of a little over 300,000 people, 22 officers, from 3 to 7 too, which working in this field long enough, 3 o'clock, the witching hour is there's quite a bit of activity usually with theft and crime and shootings and things. A lot goes on about that time. So I don't know how that's going to turn out, actually. And not to mention, you have all these migrants coming in, a lot of them with ill intentions. They're not here to help. They're not here to better their lives or the country, for that matter. They're here to simply take advantage of a situation that, well, the whole world is aware of now. So you have that issue, the migrants coming in, undocumented people that can commit crimes anyways. And not to mention, criminals are I wouldn't say smart, but they're intelligent enough to realize if you're publicly calling out and saying that, hey guys, we're not going to have any police from 3 to 7, or very little, not enough to respond to a population of over 300,000 people with 22 officers, I would imagine crime's going to go through the roof. A lot of you seen the movie, or just a few of them now, The Purge, came out a few years ago. We're looking at a scenario basically like that. And not to mention, that scenario could be reality for a lot of cities if this continues, if we continue losing police officers. And, I'm not a big advocate for the police state and militarizing everything. But, most people nowadays don't own a firearm. I wouldn't say most people, but a vast majority of people that I run into are scared to death of firearms. And their only means of protection is literally calling 911 and hoping that the police get there and stop the criminal from whatever they're doing up into murder. Their only option is to call and hope that they show up. And like I mentioned, I work downtown Tulsa, big city. I run off people all day long, most of the homeless caliber. And, a lot of times they don't want to move. And I've got to call in the police to have them arrested. And a lot of times the police don't even show up. So that says a lot for them. And I know they're overwhelmed, but a lot of them don't even want to deal with it, simply because there aren't enough of them. And not to mention, a lot of these people get off scot-free. We here in the big city of Tulsa, and I've seen it in other cities in the news and things, but we have big groups of people that go out on four-wheelers and dirt bikes and little mini bikes. I'm talking 20, 30 people flying by, through red lights, past cop cars and everything. And I've ceased to ever see a cop even, approach them or go after them or try to chase them or anything. And I work with another officer that said they actually do that because of the liability. They know that if they, there's a lot of these people on these bikes and things are underage. So they know that if they chase these underage criminals, there's a really good chance that they're just going to speed up and crash and kill themselves. And then that officer or several officers are in hot water. The media tends to turn everything around on the good guy nowadays. And I'm not saying that there aren't some bad, evil, horrible cops out there. I'm sure there are in every profession. But they've kind of backed us into a corner to where people are afraid to do anything. And now, defunding and getting rid of police, or simply not having enough police to respond to calls, is going to make things a lot harder for those people. If you're not savvy with a firearm, if you don't have a gun, if you don't know how to use those sort of instruments, it is crucial at this point that you get something like that and learn how to use it. And I'm not fear-mongering here. Common sense would tell you if we're losing police, the police we do have are afraid to even respond to things simply because they don't want to end up in a courtroom. I mean, your only other option is to take care of yourself and each other. And that's honestly what I tell people to do all the time. Don't rely on the police to show up, because they may or may not. So, and the big thing with this that really ekes me about this whole thing is, and I realize there's a staffing shortage, supposedly, that's the reason for this. But regardless of whether we have police showing up or, IMSA or whoever it may be, whatever we pay for with these taxes, regardless of whether those things are there to help us or not, we're still paying our taxes. More and more so as time goes by. Our taxes just continue to go up. I don't ever see them go down, do you? And it ekes me that we pay more and more of these taxes, and in return we get less and less. But then again, we have to pay for all these migrants and everything else, right? We've got to help everybody else because we have so much to give, it seems like. People, it's time to get armed up. It's time to get proficient with whatever weapon of choice you have, whether that be a rifle or a pistol or a battle axe. You need to come up with a plan, and a plan quick, to how to deal with this stuff. And depending on how blue your state, you might already be dealing with that stuff. And whether you're comfortable around a firearm or not is beside the point. If you want to live, if you want your family to live, if you want to be able to protect yourself and not rely on calling 911 in hopes that somebody may or may not be at the other end of that line to show up, you might want to get a gun, you might want to get a firearm, some means of personal protection, and take care of yourself and yours. God bless y'all, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Later.